Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Real 1% podcast. It's your host, Michael Daly. And today we got one of the top podcasters in the veteran military community space, my main man, Richard. He got over 23 years in the Army. He's done all the fun jobs: infantry, cavalry scout, and a tank armored crewman. They don't even really have that anymore. It's getting phased out as we speak. After leaving the Army as a sergeant, he dedicated over 3 decades to GNC, man. Y'all might have seen him up there in New Jersey. You may not have. So he rose from salesman to general manager. And then, my man got a journey of himself. He's overcome struggles to deal with substance abuse, traumatic TBI, PTSD, all too familiar in the military space. And he's actually celebrating 32 years of sobriety, almost as much. I'm 35, so my man's been sober almost as long as I've been alive, dude. Congratulations to that, to your podcast success. You said you have over 1.5 million downloads, and he's known as the comeback coach in the community. He's the author of A Hero's Journey from Darkness to Light, an ebook that I'm sure he'll send out your way if you need it. And he's also a lovely husband and a father up in New Jersey. So without further ado, my main man, how you living today, Richard?
I'm doing great. I'm so grateful to be able to hang out with you today, and I'm enjoying this. I love the background, by the way. I love your back. I love everything about your show, bro. I'm so glad to be here.
Appreciate you, man. You're over there with the baby grand piano in the back and the love sack, or you get the futon going. I got the AI combat background, but that's how we do it, man. You know how it goes. But let's rewind.
Because I had to upgrade, because when I'm talking to millionaires and billionaires, they don't want to see my basement, so I had to upgrade. I had to upgrade.
Yeah, man, that's how you got to do it, though, man. But let's rewind it back a little bit in time. Let's get in the time machine and drop back a few years and just ask you, what made you want to join the Army, man? What was it about the military that had you so intrigued?
There was no intrigue. For me, just to start out a little bit beforehand, I had my first drink at 11. I was a full-blown alcoholic by the age of 13. And I got kicked out of high school. So it was either jail or the military. I joined the military. It's the day I turned 17, I shipped. So I joined the military, and I went to jail at the same time in the military. So it was an interesting ride the first couple of years.
So you essentially lived the cadence: go to war, go to jail.
I mean, guy. I mean, we're gonna be talking some crazy shit, so this will be fun. But I'm the only guy you're gonna ever know that has 8 Article 15s, 2 field grades, gets thrown out of the military, gets back in, almost gets thrown back out, and then wins Soldier of the Year.
Man, you full circle then, man. We had to dive into it, dude.
Yeah, full circle, baby.
So, when you shipped off to basic training as AI as a 17-year-old, you probably didn't get the waiver signed by your parents because you weren't 18 yet, or however that went down for you back in the day. What was going through your mind when you went there? Was it like, shit, I'm going to get out of here for 20 years and make this a career, or were you like, man, I don't even know how this is going to go, but here goes nothing?
Now, when I showed up to MEPS, okay, I was like 120. I was literally 123 pounds. My right leg now is 123 pounds. When I showed up, my hair was down to my waist.
Oh, damn.
My hair was blonde because I was a big Ric Flair guy. So I was like, you know what? If I'm going to go to the military, they're going to shave this shit off anyway. So I showed up with earrings, tats. I showed up with hair down to my waist, and they were fighting to see who was going to get me into the chair first. But for me, I never planned on living past the age of 20 anyway. So my theory was join the military, live hard, die young, leave a good-looking corpse. That was my theory.
When did you start thinking about that, dude? When did you start actually having that go through your mind? Was it at age 11? Like, I don't even know how that would go through your mind or surface at the same time.
Well, I didn't. I just thought, you know what? I got nothing else going for me. I got kicked out of school for hitting a teacher in the head with a desk. So school wasn't an option because I didn't realize that I had severe ADHD and dyslexia. So for me, what other options were there? There were no options. So I figured, join the military, have a good time, and if I get killed, oh well, I wasn't supposed to make it to 20 anyway.
Okay. So how was
So
basic training? How was AIT? How was all that for you, or OSET, whatever you had went through at first?
yeah, I went through OSIT, and it was 1986, and I was a tanker went to Knox. And when I went through, I couldn't even pass the PT test. So they put me in those banana suits, and they had to retrain me. And I missed the cycle because I couldn't even pass a PT test. That's how bad it was. And then I had a smart mouth. I'm a street kid from Jersey, so I had a bad attitude. I was a racist guy. I was just a street punk. So I had a lot of rough times in basic training because coming from the streets, and then you're there with people from all over the world. If you're a street punk and you're only 17, and these guys I'm going to basic with, some of them are men. Some of them got out and then got back in. So I'm going through basic with 25, 26-year-old, and they're not going to put up with shit from a 17-year-old punk. So I had a rough time during basic.
And like you said, you're 120 pounds soaking wet, right? So it's like, but you had the mouth on you like a 240 pounder, probably, right?
Oh, I could talk shit. I mean, I was the biggest shit talker you could talk. But being 123 pounds, you can't. I mean, I could scrap. I mean, I'd fight. If you want to fight, we're going to fight. And I'm still that way today, but my mindset changed after I fought in the cage a couple of times. But that's different. But I was just a street punk, and I was the guy that if I was in your squad, you're like, this guy. I was the guy that was late for formation. And I tell everybody I was the ultimate shitbag. The first 8 years of my career.
What made you wake up and change your mindset? How'd you get so far? How'd you do that for so long, and then have an awakening of say, holy shit, I really gotta get to it? What was it?
Well, they threw me out of the military the first time after 2.5 years. Because, you get 6 Article 15s, 8 Article 15s, you get 2 field grades. They shut down the base because you lose a weapon. They kind of have enough. But for the first 2 years, what saved me was I was the ultimate field soldier. You put me in the field, I'm a superstar, baby. I don't have to sleep. I could survive on whippets and energy drinks. And I'll go 4 or 5 days without sleep. You want me to stand guard? I'll stand guard all day long. You want me to hop tank to tank to tank? I'm great. Put me in garrison, all bets are off. So But that's what saved me, because even when I was getting in all this trouble, when we would go down tank table 8, I was the loader for the first sergeant, the sergeant major, the colonel, because I was the best there was. So that's what actually kept me until they finally were, guy, we have to get rid of you because now, you missed a 4-star general's funeral detail.
Oh, damn.
I got nothing. So I got nothing. You're out of here. And so I was ex-veteran at the age of 19, retired, or not retired, but I actually got medically discharged or not medically. I became a drug addict. In the Army, I became a drug addict and alcoholic, and they eventually chaptered me out under honorable conditions, and I was only 19 years old.
Where's your first duty station at?
Fort Hood.
Oh,
I was at Fort Hood for 2 years, and I'm 17 years old, and I'm hanging out and I'm partying at every single club. Every night, 7 days a week. If we weren't in the field, I was at the clubs doing stuff with the wives of the soldiers that were in the field.
Dude, you lucky you didn't end up going to Europe. because you would have been at the army by 18, man. You wouldn't. You would. That nightlife over there in Germany is something different. But now, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, just that I was Jody at the time. I was a 17-year-old Jody. But I did a lot that most people never did. Like I went to Oktoberfest in October in Germany at 17 years old.
Oh,
So
damn.
I've done a lot of and I roadied for Joan Jett while I was in Germany. So I had a great time my first 2 years. I was living the rock star life for 2 years. I was a party animal.
But when they told you enough is enough and that you had to pretty much, hit the pavement, hit the high road, what went through your mind, if anything?
I didn't even think about it. I'm just like, all right, what's next? But I get home, my parents throw me out because my dad, and I miss him. He's gone. He'll be gone 3 years on Valentine's Day. He came off the boat from Italy, didn't speak the language, but ended up with 3 houses. A hard worker. He worked 6 days a week, taking care of 2 families, worked 2 jobs, and I just got back from partying all over the world, and now I'm supposed to be in by 10 o'clock at night so he can get up at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, you're out of here. So I lived in a crack house for the better part of 2 years. I was homeless, living in a crack house.
Holy shit.
Eating out of garbage cans.
How was that like? How the hell did you get out of that rut? Because obviously you can get in there and you're just a product of the environment, but take us through how you got sucked in and then how you managed to pull yourself out.
Well, I came home and I continued my partying, and the crazy thing was I was living in a crack house or being homeless. And back in 88, I was working for my ex-girlfriend's father. I was making $1,000 a week cash.
That's big money back then. That's even not that bad right now, honestly.
Back then, cash. And I would still live in my truck or live in the crack house. As soon as I get paid Friday, I'm going to the dope man. I'd get high. I'd get rolled. They'd take all my money. I'd save enough just for gas for the week. So I'd have to live in my truck most of the times. I ate out of garbage cans, literally ate out of garbage cans. I ate out of all the dented cans that the ShopRite would throw away. So, and then what happened was my mom promised me I can come back in the house if I went to school.
Okay.
I said, okay, I'll go to school. And she's like, I couldn't get into college, obviously. I'm a 9th grade dropout. I don't have any skills. I'm not smart. I wasn't smart at that point, but I realized that I was smart, but I had severe ADHD and dyslexia. So I just have a different learning modality than everybody else. But I said, I'm going to go to school to be a bartender. So I went to school to be a bartender, and being an alcoholic and being a bartender, it's not, you get high in your own supply, like you said.
Right.
So the first job I get when I graduated was bartending for in a club, and the guy that owns the club is a police officer in my town, and he hired me, and everything's going great. This is New Year's Eve, 1989, going into 89, and everything's going great. I first get there, and I'm doing my job, and all of a sudden I have a couple of drinks, and people buying me drinks, and like 5 or 8 hours later, I hear a knock on my door, and it was him and 3 of his buddies coming to lock me up. I robbed the place. I gave away like $3,000 worth of free drinks. I had like $2,000 in my pocket, and he came to lock me up because I'm looking at 5 years for grand larceny, and I'm 19. I was 20 at this time. And I wish I know the guy now. I'd give him a hug. I'd give him a kiss. I'd buy him a big filet mignon. He said, "You know what, Rich?" He said, "You're 19. You're 19 years old." I was still good looking back then. So, and he said, "If you go to state prison in New Jersey, you're going to be somebody's bitch.
Mm.
He says, your life is over. He said, your butthole is going to be like that if I send you to jail. He said, you got a choice. He said, you can either give me my money back in 24 hours, which I begged, borrowed, and paid all the money back from my aunt, my uncle, and my dad. And you got to go to 90 meetings of AA in 90 days. So I hit, instead of going to 90 meetings, I hit 300 in a row, and I haven't had a drink. I just celebrated 35 years, January 2nd. I have been sober for over 35 years. But as my uncle's bailing me out, now my uncle was a badass. He was like 5'5". He was a badass. Korean War veteran. He was actually the boxing champion of the Army when he served. And as he's bailing me out, he looks at me and he says, I knew you didn't have what it takes to be a military man. You don't have it in you. And that just ate me up. I couldn't sleep. Every night I'd wake up thinking about it. I'm like, damn, he called me out like that, And I respected him so much. I love my uncle and I miss him. I'm like, I got to get back in. And everybody's like, you're not going to get back in. You got thrown out for being a drug addict. How are you going to get back in? I said, I'm going to get back in. So after writing my congressman and getting all these letters of recommendations from people, I got back in. I joined the Pennsylvania National Guard, and I got back in like 2 years later. It took me 2 years to get back in the National Guard.
Dude, let's rewind a little bit because I got to ask you a few questions. The first question I got for you is, dude, what was the hardest part of getting out of the crack house? You got the welcome invite back to your house from your mom, but dude, we all know when we battle with addictions, I've had my own fair share of stuff, whether it was alcohol in the military or weed or whatever out of it. People know with the addictive personality, dude, it's no joke, man. It's easy to say you got to channel the bad addictions into a good one, but when you're in the moment of it, I mean, shit, man, that's life. You're looking for the next, your next hit, your next whatever you're looking for, your next drink, your next joint, whatever the case may be, man, or sugar. It don't matter what it is, man, whatever the addiction is. But how did you get out of that, man? Because it's not easy.
I was still, as I was living at mom's house, I was still partaking of all those extracurricular activities.
Right.
But I was going to school. So while they were at work, that's when I would do my stupid shit. And then
Okay.
I'd come back from work and I'd go over to my girlfriend's house. So as long as I was looking like I was doing the right thing, it was all right. But, when the day I got locked up or almost got locked up, it's the first time I went to an AA meeting. And I'm drunk and I'm hungover and I'm 20 years old and I'm sitting around there with guys that are 40, 50, eating stale cookies, drinking nasty coffee. And I talked to one guy and I tried to talk to him and he's like, bro, just sit down and shut up. You don't know anything. And then I heard people telling their stories and their stories were my story. So I felt at home. That's as weird as it sounds. I felt at home. But now I'm 20 years old. I can't go hang out with my old friends.
Nah.
I can't go to the places that I used to go. So now I isolated and I didn't go anywhere. I stayed home and I worked out. And I couldn't afford a gym. So I was doing push-ups and sit-ups and I got jacked.
Yeah.
Because that was the only thing I could do. I couldn't go hang out with my friends because they partied, but at Sunday night at 10 o'clock, they got to go up, get ready for work the next day. Where when I was partying, it's like, what do you mean? We still got alcohol. What do you mean we're going to bed or going home?
Right.
So, but then I realized I can't hang out with people, places, and things. So I really isolated, and it was just me I went to, sometimes 4 or 5 meetings a day, and I wasn't even working. It was just trying to work on myself and get sober.
Yeah, filling that void. Like some people say, you got to stay busy with other things. Like you said, mentioned the gym, meetings. Surround yourself with people that are doing something that you want to do. And the crazy thing that you said was you were only 20 years old. So in all reality, you weren't even legally able to drink, but you've been doing it since the age of 11, dude. That's crazy. You've already been doing it as long as some of the people maybe in the meeting, they might have started at 21 and they're now 30. Shit, you already lived it as a adolescent into a young adult. So
Yeah.
that's
Like,
kind of mind boggling at the same time.
well, because when I was active drinking, I mean, I would put down a case of beer of Fifth to Sambuca and like 5 hits of acid in one day. That's how bad I was. But then when I had to get totally clean, so I haven't touched anything even more than an aspirin since 1989.
Yeah, good for you, man. I mean, like, you just must have had an awakening and all that stuff happening, and those guys coming to you, from the bar and saying like, you want your life to be over by going to the prison for the rest of your life, and you got your whole life ahead of you. So like, I mean, at least you manned up and made it happen, because some people would have took the other route, right?
Yeah, a lot of people do, and I worked as a prison guard for a while, and when you go to prison, you find God or you become a better criminal.
Mm,
So there's really not a whole lot of different things you can do while you go to jail. So I
that's
just
true.
made a decision. Hey, let me give this AA thing a try because me going to jail. I like I like being a tight end. I don't want to be a wide receiver. So I guess I'm not going to go to jail.
I don't blame you on that, man. I don't blame you on that at all. What was it like getting back into like when you got all those letters and stuff like that from your congressman, from all the support that you had? What did it feel like when you got back in the when you knew you would be able to get back in the military? What was your feelings?
It was great, but I was still an asshole. I was just an asshole that didn't drink.
Mm,
So I still had the attitude problem. I still had the anger issues. I still had the mouth. And the biggest blessing and mistake that I made is I moved down south and I moved to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And now I'm a city boy who's a punk, who's got a bad attitude. And now I'm a Yankee. So they don't like me as I get there.
mm.
And now all of a sudden I got the big mouth and I'm the Yankee. And literally nobody liked me. And I don't blame them. I don't blame any one of them. Nobody liked me until I would say I almost got thrown out. I was due to be discharged September of 2000, the end of September 2001. I was going to be thrown out for a second time just for getting in trouble, missing formations, blah, blah, blah. The same thing as I did before. But because of what happened on the morning of September 11th, 2001, my whole life changed at 9:48 a.m. From that moment on, I was a totally, totally different person. I was a totally different person than you see in front of you today.
What made you change that? Just the towers, the destruction. Did that just wake you up, or was it what was
No,
it that
what it is if I go stand on my front porch right now, I'm
you mute?
actually standing
Oh, there you
where
go.
the Twin Towers once stood. If I go on my front porch, I'm standing in the shadows of the Twin Towers. And we all knew people that worked at Cantor Fitzgerald. And as this is all happening, because I don't know, a lot of people remember 9/11. That when it was happening, it was all live. There
Right.
was no editing, and you're actually seeing and hearing the bodies hit the ground. You're actually watching the Pentagon smoking and then pulling bodies out of the Pentagon.
Yeah.
And as I'm watching this, all my TA-50 is to the right of the TV because I'm being thrown out again. And at that moment, I realized you've just wasted your whole 10 years of your career, or whatever it was. I think it was 8 years or something like that. I was 27, and I just realized those people that that were in the towers, or the 393 firefighters, or the people in the Pentagon, all they did was go to work.
Mm.
All they did was, do what they normally do. And here I am taking advantage of life. And literally broke down, and I talk about it in my book. I literally broke down on my couch crying like a baby. And I cried out to the Lord. I said, Lord, give me one more chance. I said, I want to dedicate the rest of my life to helping people that can't help themselves, like on that day of 9/11. And I called my company commander. I called my CO, and they've heard my bull crap before. I was in their office more than they were in their office.
Oh,
And I'm still friends with the company commander in my first sergeant. I'm still friends with them. And I said, when I went to see him, I said, guys, I'm sorry. I said, I know I've been the ultimate shitbag. I said, but you know what happened, and you know my feelings. And they looked in my eyes and they said, there's something different. You're not that guy anymore. We're going to keep you. And thank God, thank the Lord, they kept me. But I was still an EIOU one. So because I got busted from E4 again to E1 again. So we had drill, I think it was the following weekend or the weekend after. And I decided, you know what, Rich? You've done it your way. It's not working. Why don't you try to show up 2 hours early and see what the winners are doing? So I got there 2 hours early, stayed 2 hours late. Then I start seeing all the high-ranking guys getting there 2 hours early. I see them all staying there late for 2 hours. And I was like, I'm going to do that. So as an E1, I started following because they didn't like me to begin with. I was hated at this point. But I started to follow all the E6s, E7s, E8s, company commanders. I started, whenever they went, I followed. And I volunteered for every single thing that they had. You want me to sweep the floor? I got you. You want me to take the garbage out? I got you. You want me to come to be the PP guy? I'll do the PP test. You want me to reclassify? You want to send me to school? I'll do whatever you need me to do. I maxed out my PT. I maxed out my correspondence courses. And within 3 years, I won Soldier of the Year. I became an NCO within 3 years. And then came the day when I got hurt, and I lost my vision after being in the military for 23 years.
So going through all that, you pretty much revamped your whole self. You changed everything. You went from, taking advantage or not giving a damn to saying, I'm gonna be the best. I'm gonna put myself around the people that are high achievers. And when you get around people like that, you got no option but to pull yourself up, right? I mean, if you're the lowest person on the totem pole and you're hanging around all these people that are go-getters and doing stuff, that's just gonna make you want to do it harder, because deep down inside, you really wanted it at all times, right? Like all of us, I don't think there's many people out in the world that say, I don't really want to do anything with my life. They might just not be around the right people. They might not have the right mindset, but obviously you worked on that. It took time. It takes everyone time, right? But you did it. So respect to you for honestly doing that and taking charge of yourself and the stuff that you could take charge of, and showing up and making it happen. How did that make you feel when you turned it around? What were you thinking? What were people saying to you? Did they see that you changed? Were they treating you with respect? Like, how did all that go for you?
Well, at first it was hard because these people, for the last couple of years, they knew one person.
Right.
So it's hard to turn it around when you've been such a shitbag.
That's true.
So it took a lot of taking people by the side and be like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I caused you any trouble. If I can do anything, to make it up to you, I apologize. And I did that to each and every guy in my unit. And it was a very humbling. But then there was a point where once I became an NCO, and I literally lived the NCO creed. I live that way today, where I put my guys before myself. And the
Right.
reason why I did it, because when we got deployed in 2003, my own company didn't want me, so they sent me to be with another company. That's how bad it was. And one of the first sergeants, his name was First Sergeant Hickman, John Hickman, and I'm still friends with him. It was Christmas, and I had CQ duty, and we had a chance to go home. And I was going to work CQ, and First Sergeant Hickman, he got 3 kids. He said, "Kaufman, go home. I got the desk." And when a first sergeant says, "Kaufman, I got this," he says, "NCO creed, right?" And I was like, hmm. And that from that moment on is when I started saying, okay, if I'm going to be an NCO, I'm going to be the best NCO. And my guys knew, because I tell my guys, if you were a new guy in my unit and you were my squad or my tank or my platoon, I'm like, as long as you don't lie to me, I got your back. I said, I tell them, you got one fuck up. You're allowed one. I'll give you one. But other than that, you're also not going to tell me that you're going to be late for formation, because when I moved this to New Jersey, you know how long sometimes it takes, like 6-8 months to transfer you from one unit to the other. I drove 13 hours on a Friday to make drill and drove 13 hours back to make work the next morning. So my guys knew they're not going to say, "Hey, Sarge, I'm going to be late today," when they knew I'm driving 13 hours to make it to drill.
Yeah, unless they're driving 14 or longer, you might be an hour behind. But if you can make it, you're right. Other people can make it if they're part of that unit.
But then you're like, you know what? Because there's a lot of times if I see a soldier screwing up, and I'm like, I'd be like, "All right, bro, let's go out for lunch," and I would take him to Bojangles or whatever, and I'd be like, "All right, hats are off, uniforms off. What's going on? You okay at home?" And a lot of them, they just want to show, hey, that you care about them.
Absolutely.
So people trusted me. They knew, okay, we knew Kaufman. They knew my reputation. And then they see me. I went from shitbag to super squared away. Now they're like, "Oh, you got a problem with something? You need help? Go see him." And that's why I always believe that, if you're an E6 or E7, I'll respect the rank all day. I don't respect the person. I'm not going to respect you. I'll respect the rank. So people would be like, "Kaufman's a man. If you need anything, that's the guy you need to know." And that's how it ended up being that way.
But you ended up getting on people's level as a person. That's what a lot of people turn into RoboCop and all this other shit in the military when they get that rank. And like you said, you got to respect the rank, right? And the people make rank, but you gotta be a better person. You got to get down to someone's level. It's not, and you ask those questions. I feel like that's how I got a lot of soldiers to respect me as well as NCO. You get down on their level and ask if it's okay. You actually show them that you care. A lot of people in life don't really care about other people, and obviously you were shown what servant leadership's all about from that first sergeant, from other leaders, and you took that, put it in your tool bag, and you made it happen for yourself. So that's how you got to do it, man. It doesn't even have to be in the military. You got to be able to get down on other people's level. You got to make sure that they feel involved. They're a part of something. Everyone wants to be a part of something greater than themselves. So if you can give that to somebody in the military ranks or not, you're going to get a lot farther and connect with them on a much deeper level than just trying to bark orders or tell them what to do. I wanted to ask you, what were you doing when on the civilian side, dude? What were you doing on the civilian side when you weren't doing the Army thing?
Well, and by the way, I just want to say, before we get back real quick.
No problem.
When my guys, if we had to go tarp up the tents, tarp up the tracks, and it's raining, I'm going to be there.
Absolutely.
If we have to sweep the motor pool, I'm going to be the first one to get the broom. If we got to clean the toilets in the bathroom, I'm the first one cleaning the shitters. Because my guys know, but a lot of people don't believe that. They're like you said, once you get the rank, well, I don't have to do it. Well, no, once you get the rank is when you need to do it even more, because I can't expect you to do something that I'm not willing to do. And my guys would be like, Kaufman, what do you need me to do? I'll do whatever you want. I got you. So, and I'm still friends with all of my guys, even from 2004. I'm still friends with every one of them. So,
Oh heck yeah, that's lifelong friendships, man. With the people you served with, that's absolutely true. So,
well,
but
now to your question was, even when I was in the National Guard or the Army, I was the workout guy. I was the guy. If you're drinking beer, I'm drinking protein shakes. I'm drinking energy drinks. You're reading TMs. I'm reading muscle bodybuilding magazines. I was taking creatine, protein, and other stuff. So I was always working out, and I always worked on base at the fitness center, at the GNC, whatever they had at the gym. So when I got out and I was with GNC for almost 30 years, on and off different places. So I worked with players from the NFL, Major League Baseball, Triple H, The Undertaker, World Boxing Heavyweight Champions, MMA guys. So I worked with professional athletes. Lennox Lewis, when he was a heavyweight champion, I ran his training camp for 5 years for 5 fights. So I was in the health and fitness industry for over 32 years, and I'm still not as much involved, but I'm still involved in the health and fitness industry. Still love my energy drinks, protein drinks, all that good supplements. So I'm still part of that culture too.
So when you got out of the Army, like as a whole, you retired out, did you have a plan? What'd that look like for you?
Yeah, I attempted suicide. That was my plan.
How'd that come about?
Because I got hurt on a training accident and I lost vision in this eye. That's why I got to wear my birth control glasses. I'm 50% blind.
What happened, if you don't mind me asking?
No, and I tell everybody the story. Now, again, knowing my background, I was a young punk. I was a young kid with an attitude, and I just got a brand new driver, and I was the commander, Humvee commander, for going down to Fort Dix, and one of my vehicles broke down, so I had to pull it off the road and recover it. And my driver was a young private, and I was backing him up. And instead of him hitting the brakes, he hit the gas, ran over the whole right side of my body, and ran over my head. And that's why I had an ocular stroke and lost my vision. That's why I'm still blind in this eye.
What was going through your mind when that happened? Did it all happen too fast and then knock you out? What happened?
No, what happened was, because back then I was competing bodybuilding at this time. I was competing in mixed martial arts. So I was like 240. I was jacked, shredded. So I just got up, shook it off. And I told my guys, I'm like, don't tell anybody anything. You didn't see anything, because I didn't want this private to get in trouble.
Right.
So, because I thought back to me, I'm like, that could be me. That could have been me. I don't want to get this kid in trouble. So I was okay. I had to dust myself off and everything, but I guess because I was carrying a lot of muscle at the time, and a lot of it was performance enhanced muscle. So, but my vision started going black within an hour. And when I got down to Fort Dix, I was totally blind.
What'd you do at that time?
Well, I get down there and they're like, they send me to the hospital and they're like, there's nothing we can do. You go at the VA hospital, like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. So, you can either stay here and be blind, or you can go home and be blind. And I'm like, I'm here. I might as well stay the distance and make my money. And I called my wife and I told her what happened. And she's like, you want to come home? And I'm like, no, my guys are here. I don't miss drill. I don't miss any time. I'm like, I'm gonna stay. And they put me in the talk for 2 weeks, and so it was a great learning experience. But it sucks when you're half blind and you can't see nothing. And then when I got home and I seen my company commander, and he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna medically discharge you. We're gonna put you out, and you have next month. You got to report to it was Med Hold. I think now it's Warrior Transition Unit or some shit.
Yeah.
So for a year, I had to go down to Fort Dix and sit in a classroom on drill weekends until the guys up front decided what they're going to do with the rest of my life, when they're going to discharge me, and how they're going to discharge me.
So through that whole year process, did they help you with your disability claim, or like what's that look like from a guard or a national or reserve or national guard standpoint? It's a little bit different from leaving active duty, but what was your take on it? Did you have a first and foremost, did you have a plan on when you wanted to get out? You said the attempted suicide, so if you want to dive into that, but did they help you get out? Did they have your VA claim ready to go, or what that even
Nothing,
look like for you?
nothing. And the thing is, their goal when you're in the National Guard, not as much as when you're in the regular Army, it's they want you to quit because you could just sign out and not get any benefits.
Okay.
And their whole goal was for you to sign out and not to get any of your VA benefits or any of your benefits. And because you're sitting there for a year, some people are just like, fuck it. It's not worth it. And
Right.
sign out.
Yeah. Right.
And I would go and I'd sit down and they're like, you want to sign out? I'm like, I'm going to go back to my chair over there. So I said, I'll see you next month. I'm not going to give up. But what happened was I get there and everybody is playing on their phones. They're all playing on their laptops. They're playing cards. And I did that for the first weekend, but then I'm like, I can't do it because for me, even though I only have a ninth grade education, I've read over 6,000 books. I have 18 books going now as we speak and 2 audiobooks. So I soak up knowledge. And I'm like, I got to do something. I can't just sit here. So I started reading personal development books. And the first book I got was a book by Robert Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Heck
They've been
yeah.
on my show. They've been on my show. But then I kept hearing about this guy Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's actually one of my mentors. I actually became friends with him. He's the one that actually had me start a podcast, write my book, and all that stuff. But for a year, I just soaked up as much personal development knowledge as I can get while I was sitting there because I knew the day was coming when they're going to be like, "You're no longer Sergeant Kaufman.
Right.
Give me your green card, and we're going to give you a cute little pink one. And you are no longer going to be Sergeant Kaufman. So your 23 years means nothing." And that day came Labor Day 2012.
So, you got out with no disability,
Well, I had
or
to
did
fight
you?
it. But it took a while. I mean, I think I'm at 80% or something like that right now.
Okay.
So I'm at 80% disability through the VA. But they don't really tell you anything because they give you a choice. They say, well, you can either get military pay or you can get the VA pay. Which one do you want? And if you don't know, you're like, you can't have both. And that's why a lot of people tried to quit or whatever. And I was just like, and I took, I started listening to what Sharon and Robert was talking about. I'm like, of course I'm going to take the higher number. So I took
Absolutely.
the VA, I took the VA disability rating, and I think I finally got it in totally in 2014 or something like that.
Okay. Um, yeah, isn't Robert Kiyosaki a veteran too?
He's actually he was a Marine helicopter pilot in Vietnam,
Yeah, I
and
thought. Yeah.
Sharon Lechter lost her Marine son to suicide.
Oh damn.
That's how I got connected. Because anybody I have on the show,
yeah,
it's all military connected somewhere down the line.
Okay, absolutely. How was it having him on the podcast?
Oh, they were great. They were great people. Right now, I'm working on. We can talk about that later. What I want to talk about is it was Labor Day 2012. They finally called me in the office and they say, "Give me your give me your ID card." And I gave my ID card. They said, "You are no longer Sergeant Kaufman," and that broke me because even when we got pulled over, anywhere somebody we needed an ID, it was always the military ID. We never pulled out our driver's license.
Hell no. You know that for a fact.
So once they told me, well, you're not Sergeant Kaufman anymore. Well, who's Richard? Sergeant Kaufman was my identity.
Right.
Well, now I don't know who Richard. I mean, I know I'm Richard. I got a beautiful wife at home. I got 3 beautiful children. I got a beautiful home. But who's Richard now if you're no longer Sergeant Kaufman? Because they don't tell you when you join the military that you have a shelf life.
Right.
They don't tell you, I was talking to somebody yesterday on another podcast that I was on, that once you hang up the gun belt or you hang up that uniform for the last time, nobody can tell you that feeling when you finally put your uniform into the closet, how you're going to feel.
It's true.
And so for me, I felt like a failure. I felt like because my goal after I got straight and focused was to do 30 years. That was my goal. 30 years was the ultimate. That was, I'm going to make 30 years, Top Gun, Ultimate Soldier, 30 years. I'm good. At 23-year mark. And then they're like, yeah, well, you're out. You can't see, can't shoot. We don't need you. And that totally destroyed me. And Labor Day was the day that I attempted suicide. But my 6-month-old daughter actually saved my life that day.
How'd that go down?
Well, you remember whenever I was at any base, especially the last time, when anybody came through the gate, a lot of them would come in with like these brand new Dodge Ram 1500s with the big front gates. And I was like, man, I always wanted one. So I bought a brand new one right out the gate. And I decided, I was like, because I still had orders. I think it's up until midnight or something like that. I think that's how the military went, that you have orders until midnight of that day. So I figured if I died on duty, my wife would be able to take care of my kids. My wife would be able to take care of the house. So I decided to take my own life. My goal was, now Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the mouth. My plan was to get my truck up to 100 miles an hour, hit the cruise control, put on the radio, close my eyes, and just drive off the road.
On the base. On the base, right? On the base or off the base? Were you trying to get on the base?
I was going to get right off on the highway, and it was going to be a wrap. I called my wife, and I knew it was going to be the last time I ever heard her voice. I knew I was never going to talk to my wife ever again. And I said, honey, I love you. Always have. Tell the kids I love them. Because we were supposed to go down the shore for the Labor Day and hang out on the beach. And so I talked to her, and then I got in the truck. I got the truck up to 100 miles an hour, put cruise control on, turned the radio up. Now, I'm a heavy metal guy. I'm a hard rock guy. I'm a 5-finger death punch guy. That's me. For some reason, country station came on, and I'm like, whatever, I'm going to die anyway. So it doesn't matter if it's country music. And I closed my eyes, and I could feel the truck. I could feel it moving. Slowly, I could feel it moving. My eyes are shut. And on the side of the roads, they have the little reflectors where you can hear click, 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 click. So I started hearing click, 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 click. So I knew I'm seconds from death. And then a song came on. And this always gets me. A song by George Strait came on. It was called I Saw God Today. And it was about a man who was holding his hand up against the glass, looking at his baby daughter as she's sitting in at the hospital. And at that moment, I realized I got a choice. I can be a member of the 22, I
Mhm.
can become a statistic, or I could be a daddy. I could be a husband. I, I can help people that are struggling like I am right now. So I literally just yanked the steering wheel. Thank dear God there was nobody beside me. I yanked the steering wheel. I pulled over, crying, and I'm weeping. I'm crying, and I called my wife and I told her what happened. Of course, she's pissed the fuck off.
Yeah.
But I said, honey, if I don't get help, I'm probably going to eat my gun this weekend. And she said, honey, she said, I got you. She said, just come to us. She said, I got you. I got your back. She said, Tuesday morning, we're going to get you into the VA and get you some help. And I went to my first therapy session that Tuesday, and I've been in therapy, the same therapist for the last 12 years. And that's when my whole life started to change, when I decided I don't want to be a statistic. And then I realized there's so many people out there that are struggling like we are. You know, we're losing up to 55 first responders and veterans every single day
That's
because of
sickening,
the
man.
same stuff. Because
Sick.
of the same stuff that we're talking about right now.
No, you're right, and I appreciate you sharing that because that's a powerful testimony on there's been plenty of people come on here and they share that, and respect to you for even bringing it up. And I'm glad that you didn't become a statistic and that you're able to, share your story and live for a higher purpose in your life. You're a father, you're a husband, you're a coach, you're a mentor, you're a leader, and you're not scared to, swallow your pride and tell people that it's okay to speak out. A lot of men, man, they don't want to get help. They don't want to speak up, and you're leaving so much on the table, whether it's disability, whether it's your life, whether it's your family, whether it's your friends. That's not how to go out, folks. It doesn't. I don't
No,
know. You don't have to. That's not how to go out.
and the man up mentality is killing people every
Yeah,
day.
absolutely, dude. I mean, you're an old school veteran. I joined in 2007. I mean, yeah, you're a pussy if you went to sick call. You're weak, dude. Fort Campbell, you're weak. You don't go. People twisting their ankle, damn near breaking their damn ankle, and still trying to finish a road march or run. Like, dude, that's such a. Meanwhile, people that abuse the system, they're getting off better than the people that were scared to just speak out and say, you know what? I'm gonna go get this documented, because what you're doing, you're setting yourself up for failure if you don't. Let's just be honest, right? I mean,
Yeah. And now I interviewed, because I've had 1,100 interviews on my show. I've had everybody from General Petraeus all the way down. And one of my friends, Sergeant Major Field, he has a podcast called the Unarmored Podcast. He actually shows what when he was still in. He would show up in full dress, and he would sit in the waiting room. So when a young private would come in for mental health, and he's seen the sergeant major there in full uniform, he know, okay, if it's okay for the sergeant major to get help, it's okay for me to get help. And I think that's
absolutely.
the most important thing, is we have to lead by example, saying it's okay, guys. It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah, you know what I heard from a sergeant major when I had him on one time? They said they used to have different doors for him to go through so they wouldn't be seen. That's kind of crazy, right? But you're absolutely right, man. It should be okay for a E9 or a O fucking 10, O9, whatever they got. Hey, we're here too to get help. We're all human, man. You got to swallow your pride, dude, because like you said earlier, the military is a system, man. When your time is up, you're no longer Sergeant Kaufman. You're no longer Sergeant Daly. You're no longer General Petraeus. And if you didn't have all that shit in the records, all you're doing yourself, your family a disservice when you get out, because then you got to play catch up. Me personally, I didn't even go to the VA appointment for my disability. I was so ready to get out, and I had no mentorship. And I'm not blaming anybody but myself, because I had to do my own due diligence to do that. But I mean, I had to come out of quicksand just like you did, the hard way. And that's why we're trying to get this information out there now, so people take heed to it and act, be proactive rather than reactive, because it's much easier to do it while you're still in than getting out and saying, oh, well, I don't have the time to go to the VA. I got to work. I don't want to do that because they don't help you. That's bullshit. You got to do it.
Can I give a quick plug real quick?
Heck yeah.
It's not for me. But I just started my own podcast course Monday, and I'm working with a gentleman. His name is Jerome Spearman. He's starting a brand new podcast. It's called Open Ranks. It's where he's actually going to teach you how to go through the whole med board process to make sure you get every single benefit that's coming to you. And it's called Open Ranks, and that's coming out Valentine's Day because he has a heart for veterans. So it's going to be able to take you all the way from the minute you know you're going to get out to make sure you get all your paperwork done, how to do your paperwork, how to file it, and all like that. So that's coming out. So that might help a lot of your audience. Now they're actually going to have a place to go to where they can learn, how to take care of their paperwork before they're even out.
Heck, you need that, dude. We need more of that. Appreciate you plugging that. You can plug anybody you want in here trying to make a difference. Speaking of podcast, I know you said that you got you were getting you were getting into all the self-development stuff and everything like that. And Gary V, when did you decide that you were going to do it? You've been doing it over 1,000 episodes, like you said. When did that come onto your plate and say, you know what, I got to indulge in this and make it happen?
Well, what happened was I was with GNC and I started a podcast, but all it was reviewing products. I'm drinking Ghost pre-workout right now. Okay. So I would try a pre-workout and I'd be like, guys, this tastes awesome, but the workouts are shit. or I would say, guys, because I was the first one to ever, because I'm friends with Aaron Singerman, the owner of Redcon One. I was the first one to ever have him in any GNC. But I would try his products and I'd be like, this Redcon One green apple tastes like ass. But it works. The kick-ass work. So I was just starting to try different products, giving reviews and stuff like that. And then at one point, I decided after I had lunch with Gary Vaynerchuk, he started the whole comeback coach. He's the one that told me to start a podcast. He's the one that told me to write a book. My hat is actually used to be in his old office. My Wounded Warrior hat used to be hanging up, and you'd be able to see it. So
how'd you get in touch with him? How'd you link up with him?
Because even though I was an addict, I'm still an addict. I'll always be an addict. But an addict can know how to BS anybody. They know how to talk. They know how to finagle people. So his father's liquor store in Springfield is 20 minutes from my house.
Okay.
So I called and I said, I called and I'm like, when this is Rich and I made it sound official. I'm like, yeah, this is Rich from GNC. When is Gary going to be there? Oh, I said, when is Mr. Vaynerchuk going to be there? I'm like, no, when is Gary going to be there? We need to talk some business. He's like, he's going to be here on Saturday. So I said, all right, just tell Rich from GNC he's going to be there. So I went down there and actually got a chance to sit and bullshit with him a little bit. And because I kept hearing his name. And once I heard his story, and I just started devouring everything he had put out. I devoured every single book he had. I devoured everything that he did. So when I went to talk to him, and I was just saying, like I did with my military, I'm like, Gary, I don't know anything about what you do, but I want to do what you do. How do you do it? Will you teach me? And he said, yeah. He said, I can help out a little bit here and there. Now, John Lee Dumas is my main mentor, John Lee Dumas right now. He's my main mentor. And Ed Milet, those are my two main mentors. But, Gary, we talked for a little bit. And then, he started me on my journey. And he's the one that told me, you got a crazy story. He's like, I've never heard as much shit as you went through. He's like, it's crazy. He's like, you need to put out a book and then you need to start a podcast about it. I'm like, I don't know how to do it. He's like, well, you got to figure out how to do it. So all I did was watch his videos for like, my wife hated Gary Vee. She's like, his voice annoys me, his cursing annoys me. I'm like, but honey, I'm learning everything from Gary Vee. And then I eventually moved up. I still love Gary Vee. I'm supposed to see him in February out in Chicago. And then I moved into Ed Milet and John Lee Dumas. So, that's how the podcast just got started, because here I am, I'm 50% blind and I'm feeling bad for myself. And I'm like, there's got to be other guys out there dealing with the same shit. So the first guy I interviewed, this is crazy because I'm feeling bad for myself. I'm getting fat, dumb, and unhappy. And I interviewed this guy and I'm like, where are you at? Because I'm hearing bubbles. I'm like, bubbles? He's like, yeah, we're up here in Aspen. I'm sitting in a jacuzzi with my wife. He's got no arms and no legs.
Holy shit.
Sitting in Aspen, talking to me in a jacuzzi. And he's got $1 million company. So that's when I was like, okay, I may have no vision, but other people got it worse than me and are living better than me. And that's when I started interviewing people like, John Lee Dumas. You know John Lee, right? You've heard of John Lee Dumas.
Yeah.
He gets like 250 million downloads a month.
Right.
But a lot of people don't know that he was a tank commander in Iraq. And he lost a tank in Iraq.
Damn.
And all the crewmen got killed. And he was suicidal. And he went through a lot of mental health struggles. So that's how I got him to come on the show and to mentor me, because he's a veteran. So, and then I asked him to mentor me. So he's actually been mentoring me for the last 2 years now. Because I figured, okay, these are the best.
Absolutely.
I want to do what the best do.
Absolutely.
I don't want to know what the guy that's doing a little better than me.
Right.
Or, because even I realized, okay, I'm an E1 at that time. But I want to do what the E7s or E8s are doing.
Yeah.
Because the other E4s can only get me to E4. So now I'm not hanging out with the E4s anymore. I'm hanging out with the winners, because success leaves clues. So those are the guys that I pick. And now, like, I looked up the rankings today. I was above Gary, Ed Milet, Tim Ferriss in the rankings today. So the people that were my heroes have now become my contemporaries. And I say that very humbly, because I'm just grateful to be in the rooms that other people are in.
Yeah, but you did this. You followed the same protocol and mindset as you did when you flipped the switch in the military from, you know what, I'm going to put myself around those high achievers. And you did the same thing when you dug yourself out of the damn foxhole after you left the military and you got around the high achievers again, man. I'm trying to do the same thing. I want to be around the best of the best. And the worst case someone's going to tell you is no or not answer. But most of the time, if you reach out, people are willing to help you. A lot of the time, people are just scared to reach out. You know what I mean?
But I also have a hack that I use, because when I first started on my podcast, I had no listeners. So I had nothing to really offer. The only thing I had to offer at this time was I'm in maybe 4 or 5 groups with like 100,000 veterans total.
Okay.
So I would actually, every Friday, which I'm actually going to do tomorrow, I would buy a book from somebody that I really admired. I would read the book, put it into action, and then a couple months later on Fridays, I would promote their book with a buying link, tag them, but not say anything about personally about me. And then eventually they start saying, wait a minute, who's this guy that keeps promoting my book that's never asking for anything? And then I'd have somebody like Dean Graziosi call me up. He's like, bro, I don't know you, but I see you everywhere and you're selling my book for nothing. What can I do for you? And I'm like,
Damn.
Nothing. I'm just grateful that, you know, that you're able to, you even message me. And then I'd say, I would love for you to come on my podcast. And he's like, well, what kind of real, listenership you said? I was like, I don't have a lot of people that follow, that listen to the podcast. I said, but I'm connected to over 100,000 veterans. All right, when do you want me on? So that's one of the hacks that I started doing. I'm like, I bought John Lee's courses. I invested in his courses. I invested in David Meltzer. He came on. I invested in JLD. I already invest. I have a whole bookshelf of Rich Dad, Poor Dad stuff. So that wasn't even the case. So that's what I did to get people on my shows. I invested in them. And then they reciprocate. There's something called reciprocation. If you invest in people without wanting anything, without asking for anything, it's going to come back. So that's what, and now even something that Gary told me, if you promote your friends 10 times more than you promote yourself, you never got to promote yourself. And that's what I do. Even like tomorrow, I'm going to talk about you on your podcast, because I won't put a post out unless it's tagging or promoting somebody else. And last month, I think just my Facebook page, I think our reach was over 750,000.
Damn, not bad at all.
No, and it's all just about providing value and making sure that I'm promoting my friends. So, and that's the way I live. Like Gary says, if you promote your friends 10 times more than you promote yourself, you never got to promote yourself.
You're right about that, man. Because they're gonna be like, damn, just like you said when Dean called you, damn, man, you selling this book like wildfire. But you're right. You got to add value to other people's life, and it's not really all about what you want to do, So props to you for doing that. I'm learning as we go. So I'm glad that you came on here to share all this knowledge. And, it's great to hear this from a fellow veteran, someone that's been through it, been through the mud and just had a total mind shift, and just change your life for the better, man. Like, how did it feel when you started getting all these people calling you and because the biggest thing with podcasting, I think I've only been doing it a couple months, but it seems like most people give up before it gets good. You know what I mean? Just like anything. They say, if you do like 100 episodes, you're in the top 5% of podcasting or something like that, because most people don't make it that far. But what was your take on it once you made it through the hump and you're like, holy shit, I got everyone reaching out? How were you feeling? What was going through your mind?
Well, I believe that I'm just starting. My goal this year is 2 million downloads. So I'm just starting. But I also believe that it's not just a podcast. It's my mission in life.
Right.
It's my mission to give hope and let people know that, because I find that if a veteran or a first responder finds a mission again, they're less likely to put that gun in their mouth and pull the trigger.
Absolutely.
So my podcast is saying, okay, you're out of the military. You want to start a business? All right, here's Robert Kiyosaki. Here's David Meltzer. They're going to teach you how to be an entrepreneur. Whatever it is. If you want to be an athlete, yeah, I've got players from the NFL, professional wrestling. If you want to do that, we got somebody to help you with that. So for me, it's just to let people know that, just because the military career is over, you have a whole nother half of your life, if not more. My goal is just to let you know, okay, well, I got somebody that if you need something, like I interviewed a guy yesterday, and he was a retired law enforcement officer. And he started speaking and podcasting, and he's going to be speaking with Gary Vee in Chicago. So if you need speaking tips, listen to this episode. So it has something for everybody, and that's what that's why what my goal is right now is just to let all veterans know, if you need something, there's an episode for somebody. And it's Absolutely. Nice when I look up and I'm like, because I have a hit list that I do every year, who I want to be up past. And it was only happened last week. My goal was to be, with Ed Milet, with Gary, with Tim Ferriss, and with Jocko. And we finally beat Jocko this week. Damn. So it's nice to have them goals to be like, okay, because even though I wasn't book smart, I became very watching my analytics. And once I started saying, "Oh wait, I'm up there with these guys." So, but I feel blessed. But then I don't get too full of myself because I still can't drive at night. So, and I still got to go outside and pick up the dog shit. So I'm not that cool of a guy where I don't have to take the garbage out and pick up the dog shit.
Oh
So
man, humble. You
I stay
humble.
humble. Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to be humble. And like I reached out to Richard Branson, and I'm going to be
Oh,
talking on one of his stages, and he's like, nobody ever came out at me being that humble. I'm like, well, because I am, and because a lot of people say, oh, I can't afford to be at Richard Branson's event, like 25 grand a plate or something like that. Oh, yeah, but you can volunteer to take the garbage out, right? You can volunteer. You can volunteer to put the seats away, right?
get
You're
on
going to get the
Sergeant
same
Major's
information,
detail.
and you're going to get the same information as the guy that paid 25 grand, right?
As long as your ears work, yeah, you're right.
There you go. So,
Nah,
like I said,
man.
and like I tell you, and I told you earlier, I'm just a humble and grateful guy. I'm blessed when I'm able to do, and I'm grateful just to be on this amazing show that you have.
I appreciate that, man. I mean, you coming from someone that has thousands of episodes and you talking to high profile people, man. I'm trying to follow your footsteps and the other people that are the what do you want to call it, the pathfinders or the pacemakers of the podcast industry. And just, it's not for clout, it's not for money, it's to help people, man. I know what it's like to get out the military with no one in my corner, really. And I hope no one ever has to deal with that, dude, because that's not how it should go. Even life after service, we're not alone, but sometimes it feels like you are. You're disconnected from your friends, but at the same time, we all got one of these, and we all got one of these. We're all connected, but it takes a community or a tribe or whatever you want to call it to come together, man. I see you on the veteranpreneur post. I think that's how we connected. That's all it's about, dude.
I've been in that group since there was 500 people.
Damn, they got like 20,000, 19,000, or 30-something thousand people or something like that,
Yeah, and I'm also a part of Disgruntled Veterans with Ryan Hemhauser and Jacqueline Hemhauser. I'm also a part of Ryan Hunt's group. He has a group, the Pando Commando. So I try to be in as many veterans group, and I'm not pushing anything. I'm just saying, guys, you need help? I'm here. That's all I can do. I'm not pushing. I don't really. I mean, I have merch. I have books. I got T-shirts. I have my own coffee, hats. But I don't push it unless there's a purpose to push it.
All right. Well, how would someone find all that stuff for you? You got a website? How could they connect with you?
I mean, if you love coffee, Vertical Momentum Coffee, the best coffee on the planet. Twice the energy, no crash. The best thing about it is it's 100% veteran hand roasted.
Okay.
And, T-shirts, hats, my book. The best part of everything that I do is I make $0 on anything that I do. 100% of my profits go to help Kurt Balish and Balish Woodworks. He has a 501(c) that he takes veterans and teaches them how to work with their hands, and he teaches them how to work with wood and leather to help them deal with their PTSD. So all my money goes to help veterans. So I don't make any money off anything I do. Everything is going back to help the veteran cause. So if you pick up a T-shirt or hat, whatever, just know that 100% of the proceeds go to help veterans, and I'm not making anything from it because I'm good as it is, and God keeps blessing me. So I'm good with whatever. If you guys do pick, I wanted to offer your listeners, if you send me your email address, you'll get my book for free. I'll send it right to your email list. You'll get my book for free. No strings attached. You'll get my book for free, 100%. I've given away over 1,000 copies just to help people that are struggling.
And you went over a lot of it, but man, it's like what, 28, 30 pages, the ebook, but it's good, man. It's right. Everything, no fluff, no nothing, easy read. And
it's all like, written by me, so there is no fluff. But the best part is, if you didn't get to the last two chapters are what does depression look like? It's not what you think it looks like. And what does addiction look like? It's not what you think it looks like. So it's actually a teaching book that might be able to save your kid's life if you read the last chapter.
Absolutely. What's next? What's next on the plate for you?
Well, I just launched a course, the 3P of podcasting course. The 3Ps of podcasting, it's purpose, power, and profit. I teach you from how to just go from starting up your computer to getting 1 million downloads and getting sponsor after sponsor to pay your bills. I teach you everything about podcasting that I know, and I personally teach you for 8 weeks. You got me for 8 weeks personally, not somebody, not a VA. This is what we do for 8 weeks. I teach you how to become a podcaster. I got that. I got a new. I'm working on 2 new books. One is a podcasting book, and the other book is called "Too Dumb to Quit." It's about some of my most popular guests and tells their story about overcoming and becoming resilient. So that should come out somewhere in the summer of 2024. But the new course is out and it's live right now.
Okay. Where can someone find that at?
They can just go to my website, verticalmomentumpodcast.com.
Okay.
Or if you just type in Vertical Momentum Podcast, we are on the first 6 pages of Google.
I saw that.
We're on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, Flickr, TikTok. I think we're on 28 social media platforms and like 50 different podcast platforms. So we're everywhere. And that's what Gary said to me. He's like, if you're not everywhere, you're nowhere.
Yeah, that's true. That's something I got to work on myself, honestly.
But then, like I said, because I have 1,000 interviews. So when when John Lee Dumas' name comes up, sometimes you'll see my interview with him come up. So it's creating backlinks to make sure that people, if they find an interview for somebody else, my podcast is going to pop up. So it's just putting in the work, putting in the reps, putting in the time.
Absolutely.
And I'm using AI, baby. Chat GPT-4, loving it.
You got to, man, or you don't use it, you're gonna be left behind.
Yep.
Work smarter, not harder. What's one thing you miss about the military?
And to be honest, because I've talked to Super Bowl champions, I've talked to World Series baseball players and WWE guys. It's the grind that I miss. I miss the times when we were miserable, when it was cold and we were hungry or we were hot, but we were a gang. Like right. I can remember sitting at NTC. I just wrote about it today. Sitting on the top of the tank at 3 a.m., just the 3 of my guys and me, just sitting down, eating shitty MREs, but just having fun and just talking as brothers. Because we knew each other as we were family. We knew what each other was going through, whose wife was cheating on them, who's this and this and that. But those 4 guys, we became a gang. And I think that's what I miss the most is mostly the camaraderie.
Yeah, a lot of people say that one, man. That's for sure. Nothing like it, man. Like you said, maybe in sports they have similar, characteristics of being in the military because you're building that bond, you're building that brotherhood, sisterhood with people, and it goes unmatched, man. That's for sure something I miss as well. So appreciate you sharing that and everything else that you dropped in. We got to get back to Robert Kiyosaki real quick, or not only just him, but drop a few dimes on him real quick about just some of the key takeaways that you've had from the high profile people that you've been able to interview that may be able to help someone else's life right now.
Well, of course, Sharon and Robert from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, they taught me about mindset. They taught me that instead of saying I can't afford it, to say how can I afford it? And then so that was a big mindset shift. I haven't had Ed on yet, but we're working on that. I'm working on Patrick Bet-David coming on. But something that Ed taught me was We all have this thing in our brains. It's called the reticular activating system.
Yep.
And whatever you see, whatever you search for, you're going to find.
That's
So
true.
if you're searching for failure, you're going to find it.
Mm.
If you're searching for success, you're going to find it. So I learned that from Ed. David Meltzer. I don't know if you guys ever watched the movie Jerry Maguire. They
Yeah.
wrote the movie. They wrote the movie about Jerry. I mean, they wrote the movie about David Meltzer and one of his partners. And he taught me that if you don't if you don't rule your schedule is going to rule you. So he taught me that even he pencils everything in 2 minutes to call mom today.
Mm.
Call your daughter today. You're going to play video games. Okay, schedule that. Make sure that you run your schedule, or your schedule is going to run you. Because I find, especially as an entrepreneur, you can get lost if you're not running a schedule. And like even when we're in the military, we knew, okay, no matter how banged up or how trashed I got, 5 o'clock we're running, 7 o'clock's formation, 12 o'clock's chow. And I think once we get out, we don't run schedules anymore, or we don't follow any kind of SOPs in business. So I would
that's a true statement, man.
So I think that would help somebody who's listening. Just get on a schedule. And I can't live without my schedule. And now it seems like I block out, even mentally, I'll block out. Okay, I'm going to play, I'm a big video game guy. I'll say, okay, tonight I'm going to play video games from 6 to 7 just to decompress. But when 7 o'clock comes, I'm done. But I put it on the schedule. You know what I mean? So I think maybe that might help somebody. If they're struggling in life, start getting on a schedule. Get on a workout schedule. Even if it's just getting up and walking. Just get on some kind of schedule and try to keep to a schedule. And you'll realize, like one of my friends wrote in the book Atomic Habits, that we're 40% of our habits. So if you just change one habit, your life's going to start changing a little bit at a time. So that's some of the things I got from some of the people that have mentored me or have taught me different things.
No, I appreciate you sharing that. Those are all valid and true statements. And I know I struggle with the schedule at first, from going from military to contract, and then you kind of just like, damn, what's my purpose? And you got to find it. And you got to, especially as an entrepreneur, it's a double-edged sword. You can do what you want, but if you don't work and do nothing, you're not going to get the bills paid. You're not going to make money. You're not going to make nothing happen. But you're absolutely right, man. Schedule is key. Get around people that are doing better than you. That way you can pull yourself up. Your network is your net worth, and add value any way you can, man. So, I really appreciate you coming on here. I've learned a lot. I mean, I can't wait to hopefully get you back on here sometime down the road, talk about your projects, who's on the hit list for the next year. And, I hope I can add some value to your programs or to your listeners in any kind of way with my story or anything I could do.
Wait. And I'm going to send you the link right after we get off. I'm going to make sure I get you to go on the show.
Shoot, let's get it, man. But did we leave anything out that you want to drop in before we go, or you think you covered it all?
Well, the only thing I want to say is the way I end my podcast is I'm a big Joel Osteen guy. He's on my hit list. So, but something that he talks about is every day we wake up, we have a chance to decide whether we're going to be a victor or a victim. So, guys, if you're listening to this, please choose to be the victor and not the victim anymore. So I just want to say that.
No, absolutely. And to add to that, I guess real quick, I'd say challenge yourself every day to become a better version of yourself, because it seems easy to say, but it's not easy to do. You never know. You got to live in the now. We can't predict the future, and we can't go back in the past. So try to do better in the moment, do the best you can, be the best version of yourself for your family, for your friends, for your listeners. It doesn't matter. Just do it. Try to do it every day. It's going to be harder than you think, but I guarantee you're going to feel good about it. And my man, Richard, I appreciate you being on. If you guys made it this far, I really appreciate y'all listening in and hope to add value to you guys' lives. And we hope to see you on the show one day. If you got a story of your own, or someone with a story, we all have stories and we all have a voice. Whether you're in the military or out, don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. And I hope y'all have a blessed night. And
can I just drop one thing before we leave?
Heck
I never
yeah.
thought about it.
Heck yeah.
Guys, if you're watching this, make sure that you go to iTunes and you go to Spotify. Make sure you subscribe to this show. Make sure you leave a written review, because for every one written review, it's worth 10 5-star reviews. So make sure you leave a written review for this gentleman for doing all the hard work that he does. And that will help him very much, because he's not getting paid to do this. So make sure that's one way you can pay it forward for this gentleman.
Appreciate you sharing that too as well, my brother. And hey, I look forward to getting on your show and changing the Black Plague narrative of the 22 a day or the 55 first responders, because that's absolute garbage, and we can do it together. We could show them that people are making it. We could talk about Patrick Bet-David. We could talk about people that are making $250 million on business deals and buying part of the Yankees, and Robert Kiyosaki. And there's veterans. There's no better person to be an entrepreneur than a veteran. So find out what it is, your passion, what you love to do, and make it happen. You can, if you become the best at anything, the money will come. You don't have to do it. You don't have to be stuck in a job or something that you hate. Find out what your passion is and start chipping away at it now, because there's no better time. So I appreciate y'all for listening in, and take care, and I'll see y'all next time. Have a blessed one.